shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through my home, I'm gonna let it shine. All through my home, I'm gonna let it shine. All through my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through my church, I'm gonna let it shine. All through my church, I'm gonna let it shine. All through my church, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it
Good afternoon. My name is Libby Tigner, and I'm honored to be serving as your moderator. As such, it is my distinct pleasure to call to order the 29th General Synod of the United Church of Christ. One of the joys of General Synod is experiencing the extravagant welcome and hospitality of the host conference. The local arrangements committees of each General Synod work throughout the biennium, preparing to roll out the red carpet to guests, visitors, and delegates. Here to extend that welcome and bring greetings on behalf of the Southern California-Nevada Conference is Conference Minister Felix Villanueva.
Sisters and brothers in Christ, welcome to the 29th General Synod. I can't believe it was 2 years ago we were inviting you to come to California, and here it is. We are excited and honored to host this great family reunion. It is customary for the conference minister to offer an official welcome on behalf of the host conference. but rather that spending the next 5 minutes giving you an overview of who we are and how we feel about this event, I will defer that privilege to the members of this conference who are so very excited you are here.
Welcome to the Southern California, Nevada Conference of the United Church of Christ. We have been blessed to live in a section of the country rich in diversity of many types. From snowy mountains to pristine beaches, from the stark beauty of the desert to the fertile agricultural lands that feed the world. From the hustle and bustle of some of the largest and most dynamic cities in the nation, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Las Vegas, to small towns and quiet oases. Our cultural and ethnic diversity reflect our place at the edge of the continent, where East and West, old and new, come together as one body. The church's members and ministries of the Southern California, Nevada Conference reflect the richness of our various heritages.
General Synod for me is like a large family reunion. I get to see so many of my friends and colleagues from throughout the whole nation, and we all have the same surname, United Church of Christ.
Nais naming maranasan nyo ang mainit na pakikitungo at iba't ibang kultura sa General Synod.
Today I wanted to share it with you to bring hope and to bring a sense of faith. Because if there's something about this text other than death, its message is truly the contrary. It's about life.
General Synod reminds us that we may not look the same or we may not speak the same language, but we are brothers and sisters in Christ.
And in today's story, Jesus is at a well in Samaria, going where no good Jew would go, talking to a woman with whom no one else would talk. That's where Jesus' ministry took him time and time again, to sinners, to outcasts, to the poor.
General Synod です。
And he learns that God does not need human works. God's works proceed because they are God's works. And that closing line of Milton's sonnet there is that hopeful saying, they also serve who only stand and wait.
The United Church of Christ in Southern California and Nevada welcomes you to its 29th family reunion.
Esperemos que su experiencia sea de gran satisfacción y bendición. Bienvenidos.
Welcome. Welcome.
Talofa.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. I'd like to take a moment of moderator privilege and give a shout out to the Local Arrangements Committee, who you will meet on Tuesday. As part of the conference staff here, I've watched their labor of love unfold over the last 2 years. I know that they are hoping that this General Synod will be an enjoyable and memorable event for each of you. And as a longtime resident of Long Beach myself, it's great to have you here. Over the next 5 days, I'll be sharing moderating responsibilities with Mr. Brian Holman from the Central Atlantic Conference and Ms. Dale Bonds from the South Central Conference. I've known Brian for many years, and I've enjoyed getting to know Dale these last couple of years, and I assure you that they are people of integrity and they bring great gifts and wisdom to this role. Brian and Dale, will you please stand so that people can see who you are? The three of us will do our best to be fair and helpful as we proceed through our business over these next 5 days. Now I want to introduce to you a few other people that you will need to know who will help facilitate our work together. Our parliamentarians are on hand to help us conduct our business in an orderly fashion. Bob Freeberg will be here on the stage as the moderator's parliamentarian. Bob is an attorney who is a member of the South Dakota Conference, and he is also a former General Synod assistant moderator. And Denise Page Hood is the delegate's parliamentarian. Denise, would you stand? She's there at the table in the very middle of the room. That's where you will find her for each of the business sessions. Denise is a United States District Judge in Detroit, Michigan, and you may remember her as a previous General Synod moderator and a stage parliamentarian. We need microphone 5.
How about now?
Good.
Okay, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be with you at General Synod 29. I'm the delegate's parliamentarian, and my job is to help you proceed through the business before you. We have some formal business this afternoon, so let me quickly remind you of a few things. The microphones are color-coded. If you wish to speak in favor of a motion, you go to a green microphone, which are microphones number 1 over there and number 2 over here. They're kind of holding them up. If you want to speak against a motion on the floor, you go to a red microphone. They're microphones number 3 and 4. 3 is over there, and you can see 4 being held up over here. If you want to propose an amendment or to make some other procedural motions, you go to the white microphone, number 6, right behind the parliamentarian's table. If you wish to ask for a point of personal privilege, you go to this microphone. This is microphone number 5, the yellow microphone. A member can raise a question of privilege, which permits him or her to interrupt the pending business to state an urgent request or motion. If the matter is not simple enough to be taken care of informally, the chair will make a ruling as to whether it is admitted as a question of privilege and whether it requires consideration before the pending business is resumed. Also, if you want to make an amendment, it must be in writing and have your name and conference on the form. The youth stewards, will you all stand up and start waving? They're from the Southern California Nevada Conference. And they'll be assisting me and just about every other staff person in the room if we need to do something in relationship to the microphones or the business. We won't be doing a lot of business today, so before Monday, I urge you to read the section in the General Synod Delegates Handbook or you can read it online. It's on page 21 in the section Setting Things in Motion and Keeping Them Moving. That will help you prepare for our first full day of business on Monday. And please know that anytime you have questions, I'll be seated right here at the parliamentarians' table for the delegates. I can hardly get that out, right? Looks like I'm already worried, but I hope you have a great time, and if you need help with the business, please see me.
My job as moderator's parliamentarian is to assist the moderators as they conduct the business of the General Synod. I'm in touch with Judge Hood to help the moderators keep the business of the Synod flowing in an efficient manner. I also assist with procedural questions that may arise from time to time and try to be attentive to the activity on the floor so as to assist the moderators in carrying out their duties as presiding officers. Sometimes the business before the Synod is routine in nature and without apparent opposition. In such cases, the moderators may simply state that if there is no objection, the motion is adopted. If someone does object, the moderator will then put the question to a vote. You will likely see that procedure used this afternoon. Please refer to your delegate's handbook on page 12 for information on how the more formal plenary session proceedings will usually be conducted, for the color coding system for the microphones, and for the standing rules that govern our proceedings. I will also be available during our entire Synod time together to answer questions and assist any of you with following our procedures, and will be working closely with Judge Hood throughout our good time here together.
Thank you, Denise and Bob. There are so many staff members and committee members involved in making General Synod happen, you can hardly imagine. One committee that you need to be aware of that's going to be working throughout General Synod is the Agenda Committee. We'll be meeting throughout the course of our time together and make adjustments as necessary to the agenda. The Agenda Committee consists of our Associate General Minister, W. Mark Clark, the moderators whom you've met, the Chair of the Executive Council, the Reverend Penny Lowe's, and you'll be meeting her in a little bit, and the Chair of the Committee of Reference, Doug Wooten, also you'll be hearing from him today, and our Agenda Coordinator, the Reverend Corey Larson, and the Minister for Governing Body Relations, Lee Foley. Lee also supports the work of the Business Committee, and if you have any questions about the disposition of business, feel free to speak with Lee. Any questions? Lee, would you please stand so that people can see you? And if I may take another moment of personal privilege, as the president of the California chapter of the Lee Foley Fan Club, I can assure you that he will do all that he can to help us all out. There are two more just housekeeping pieces that I want you to be aware of. One is today, tomorrow, and Sunday, the seating will be as you find it, this theater-style seating just with chairs. And we ask that obviously for this session, for the session tonight, and for the session tomorrow morning, you sit in your delegation clusters. So with your conference or your board, if you will sit together in this theater-style seating for both sessions today and for the session tomorrow morning. When we come in here on Monday morning, there will be tables set up. We'll conduct the big business meetings from tables, and they will be marked with your delegation, and so that's where you will be seated. One more small piece is if you come to any of the microphones to address us, please face forward. That way we will be able to see you, the camera will be able to pick you up, and we'll all be able to follow along together. Okay, so now you know the parliamentarians. You understand the microphone colors, right? Okay, let's turn to our first item of business. As a first item, I call upon the Reverend Tony Fields, a delegate from the Penn West Conference. He's the chairperson of the Credentials Committee and will be making our first report.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Tony Fields from the Penn West Conference, and I serve as the chair of your Credentials Committee. The committee is comprised of 10 delegates in 2 classes, and our job is to monitor the composition of the conference delegations to the General Synod for their compliance with the diversity requirements as laid down in the UCC bylaws. The committee has met twice in recent months, first by conference call at the end of the winter when we reviewed the preliminary data from the registrar. Following that meeting, we directed Mr. Foley to be in contact with some conferences we found to be struggling. This morning, we met for the second time and reviewed the final report of the registrar dated June 13, 2013. We can report that for the third time in the last 4 synods, and for the second synod in a row, the delegation as a whole exceeds the bylaws requirement for the number of delegates under the age of 30. And it exceeds the requirement that at least 50% of the delegates be lay people, although we have found some individual conferences not to be in compliance with that requirement, and they will be contacted about improvement in 2015. We find a tiny less than 1% fall off from 2011 in racial and ethnic diversity. The continuing class of the Credentials Committee will be working with Mr. Foley and Ms. Susan Tano Lawson from the national staff, talking with the specific conferences and the council of the conference ministers to make the improvements there. There are other areas where individual conferences delegations are not in compliance or in the spirit of the laws by the bylaws, and they will contact and advise improvement as needed. But it is my privilege to report to you that the conferences of the United Church of Christ had made a good faith effort to provide a diversity by all categories, and the committee has certified delegation as a whole to be in compliance with the bylaws of requirements. It is the hope of the committee that the conferences will continue to bring more racial and ethnic diversity to synod, and as the general trend has been over the past several synods, it is the hope, the committee, that the conferences will continue to seek out and bring synod younger people who are our future of the United Church of Christ. Ours is a diverse church, and more than any other setting, that diversity needs to be demonstrated here at General Synod. God bless you. Madam Moderator, on behalf of the Credentials Committee, I move that the 29th General Synod adopt the report of the Credentials Committees.
The report is received. If there is no objection, the report of the Credentials Committee is adopted. Thank you. The UCC Constitution states that a quorum for the conduct of the business of the General Synod shall consist of 1/3 of the voting delegates, provided that in this number at least 2/3 of the conferences are represented by at least one delegate each. The registrar has reported that there are 843 delegates in attendance representing all 38 conferences. Additionally, there are 72 associate delegates and 1,941 guests. Therefore, I declare a quorum is present, and the 29th General Synod of the United Church of Christ is now officially in session. In the past, when we used voting cards, at this point in the agenda, we would announce those who have agreed to serve as tellers for the General Synod. For this synod, the Southern California-Nevada Conference delegates has agreed to serve as tellers, but this role will only be honorary as we are once again using electronic voting. I know you're excited. How many of you with us here today were with us in Tampa 2 years ago? I see probably a little more than half of you. That was fun, huh? Well, you may remember, if you were there, that our first experience with electronic voting had a few glitches. So we're going to fix that all today. So all delegates have been given one of these remote controls or clickers. We're just going to call them clickers. And we're going to practice with them in a minute. So first, step away from the clicker. Take your fingers off and just look with your eyes right now. You'll notice that there are 10 numbered buttons on the clickers, and we're only going to use 3 of those. So when it is time to vote, you're only going to push 1, 2, or 3. If you want to vote yes in favor of a motion, you will push number 1. If you want to vote no or against the motion, you will push number 2. And if you want to abstain, you will push number 3. Those will be the same for every vote that we take all through Synod, so that ought to be kind of easy. Now, it's important that when you push your button, you only push it once and you just push it. Don't hold it down. We think that's one of the issues that we had in Tampa, is that folks either held them down or pushed it repeatedly. So you just need to push it once. Now, these devices are electronic. And so everything runs through the computer and gets collected, so there may be a few seconds lag time between the time you push your button and your vote has been received and registered. So just trust that system. But we're going to take a look closely at these clickers so that we'll figure out how to register our votes. So if I can have the first clicker slide. All right? You'll see up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little LCD panel, all right? That will show what your vote was. If you were to, and please do not, but if you were to push button 1, 2, or 3 now, you would just get a circle with a bar through it, like it didn't register, because they're not live. They go live when we announce that they're going to go live. So when you do register your vote, once it's collected, the button that you pushed is going to show up on that screen. So if you push 1A, then 1A is going to show up on that screen, and so on. Then you'll also see on the next slide, you can see that there is in the right upper corner a little LED light. That will, once your vote has been registered, it will light green. It's not going to stay green for a long time. It's just going to show that you registered it. It might flash orange for a few seconds after you push your button. That just means that the vote is in the process of being transmitted and the computer is collecting it. But once your vote has been received by the computer, then you'll get the readout on your little screen, and your button and the light will flash green for a second. All right? And again, finally, there's only 3 buttons that we're using. What are they? Button number 1, 2, 3. That's it. The final bit of this is that you will only push your button when the moderator says voting begins now. And on the now. Not voting begins, but voting begins now, all right? And then you'll have at least 15 seconds to register your vote. That all makes sense, right? Okay? Now, remember, one single vote, don't lean on it, don't put your elbow on it, and just at one time. If you make a mistake, which you might, you might push 1 and you meant to push 2, you can correct it, you can vote a second time, as long as we're still in the 15-second time period of voting. And the numbers, it's going to show up on the big screen how many seconds we have left. We will try to remember to say 5 seconds left when we're getting close. And whatever is the last thing that you pushed, that's what the computer will register. So if you vote 1 and you meant to vote 2, and then you vote 2, that was the last thing you voted, so that's what will be recorded. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we're going to practice. Are you ready? All right, here is the question before the House. If this is your first General Synod, not yet, wait for it. If this is your first General Synod, you will vote yes by pushing what number? If this is not your first General Synod, you will vote no by pushing what number? If you don't know or don't remember, you will abstain by voting what? All right. So 1, is this your first General Synod? 2, it is not your first General Synod. 3, you're not really sure. You ready? Voting begins now. It flashed on your screen. It doesn't stay there. Okay, just hold on. We're going to see how this goes. If you voted once and and it flashed on your screen what number you voted, 5 seconds. 2, 1. Voting's closed. Let's see how we did. All right, for 33% of you, this is your first General Synod. 6.3% of you are not sure. I think we need another exercise. All right, second test here. You ready? And again, these things aren't going to stay on your screen forever. So just when you push, watch it, your number's going to pop up. It'll go away. All right? So here's your second test. If you flew to get to Southern California for this event, yes, I flew to Southern California. 2, no, I did not fly. I drove or walked or took a train. And 3 is just abstain. So 1, you came here by airplane. 2, you came here by some other means. 3, maybe you don't remember. You ready? Voting starts now. So it might flash orange while it's collecting your vote. It'll flash green for a second. Once it gets it, it's not going to stay on. It'll record briefly what you voted, and then it will all go away. 15 seconds. Five seconds. Voting is closed. Most of you flew here. All right. And again, about 6-point-something% of you don't really know. If you find you are having trouble with your device, you're not sure that it's working properly, please have your delegation chair contact a floor steward, and the floor steward will come assist you. Do you feel like you've got it? I'm taking that by general assent. Okay. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, the computer does know which device voted which way. The thing is, we don't know who has what device. So you've got a little tag on it, but all this says is how many clickers got given to a particular delegation. We did not keep track, and we don't want to keep track. It's too much work to try to keep track of which clickers went to which delegate. So, and that information will not be stored on the computer. Only the total numbers will be stored. So it is a completely anonymous vote. You don't need to worry about that at all. At the end of Synod, the total numbers of votes cast will be turned over to Mr. Foley to be a part of the minutes of General Synod. and then all of that information will be erased and deleted. There is no record kept at all of how any particular clicker voted. Got it? 1 for, no is, abstain is, all right, we're good to go. Bylaw 229 indicates that the Executive Council acts as the General Synod ad interim, and that the Executive Council shall serve as the Business Committee and Committee of Reference of the General Synod during its sessions. And as such shall prepare the agenda and the schedule of all meetings of the General Synod and recommend changes therein. As we seek to make the most efficient use of our limited time together over the next few days at General Synod, we ask for your help in being as concise and as brief as possible in our comments at the microphone so that we can help keep the business moving. We will be dealing with issues about which people have passionate feelings. But let me just remind you that our standing rules place time limits on speeches during debates, and we will be turning off the microphones for speakers whose time has expired. In general, this is the 2-minute time period. We will try to remember to indicate when you have 30 seconds left, but there will be a timer up on the screen. The only exception, there are 2 exceptions to this. One is the mover of a motion has 3 minutes to speak to it, and the other exception is if there is someone who needs longer time to help with communication, either because of language skills or some other circumstance that keeps that person from being able to communicate as quickly as other. And so now to move with the agenda, I call upon the Reverend Penny Lowes, Chairperson of the Executive Council, who will lead us in the adoption of the agenda. Penny.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good afternoon, United Church of Christ. You should have found the most current General Synod agenda on your chairs as you arrived this afternoon. As you can see, we have a very full schedule. The feedback we received following the last General Synod showed overwhelmingly how much delegates and visitors appreciated the Saturday experience. So we have once again set aside time during this gathering to learn and explore. The hope is that all of us will leave with something that enriches us personally, but also with new tools for ministry in the many places that we live and work. Many of you have already started your work as you attended the educational intensives that provided background and context for the committee time on Sunday morning. We will have hearings on Sunday evening, and business continues through Tuesday afternoon with closing worship on Tuesday night. If you have been to Synod before, you may notice that this Synod looks somewhat different. We have sought to include some of the pieces that have taken place during the Saturday event, the last few Synods, within our plenary gatherings. You will have the opportunity to hear some dynamic speakers interspersed throughout our business sessions. Because it is often difficult to predict how much time individual agenda items may take, as we move through these next few days, you will discover that the General Synod agenda is often very fluid. As always, our challenge will be to complete the business that is before us in the limited amount of time that we have together. While there are exceptions, the Agenda Committee has designated approximately 15 minutes for the report of most committees. As a body, you may vote to extend the debate on any given issue. However, there are times when we will need to call the order of the day. Also, please remember that any business that we are unable to address during our time together will be referred to the new United Church of Christ Board, pending final approvals of the new governance structure for action. The Business Committee will do its best to see that all items are dealt with, including the resolutions before us, and especially to give this General Synod the opportunity to consider resolutions on topics we've not dealt with before. On behalf of the Business Committee, I move that the 29th General Synod adopt the agenda as included in the second report of the Executive Council, which was available on your chairs as you entered plenary this afternoon, and authorize the Agenda Committee to make the necessary adjustments.
Now, we could use easily the consent process that we used earlier, but I want us to take this as the first formal opportunity to use our electronic voters. Remember, don't push any buttons until we say now. And at that point, you'll have 15 seconds to enter your vote. You'll vote 1 to press yes to adopt the agenda, 2 to vote no, not to adopt the agenda, and 3 to abstain. And again, if you push the wrong button and need to change your vote, you may do so as long as you're within that 15-second period. So here's our first vote. 1, approve the agenda. 2, do not approve the agenda. 3, abstain. Voting begins now. Five seconds. You see the result on the screen. The agenda is adopted. Well done, you. The next item of business is the adoption of the standing rules. Again, Penny.
Thank you. On behalf of the Business Committee, I move that the General Synod adopt the standing rules of the 29th General Synod.
Posted on the UCC website in March of 2012, shortly after they were approved by the Executive Council. If you don't have a copy, you can access them at ucc.org/synod/delegates. We're going to use the electronic voting again. All those in favor of adopting the standing rules, press 1. Those opposed to adopting the standing rules will press 2. Those wishing to abstain from the vote will press 3. Voting begins now. You see the results on the screen. The standing rules have been adopted. Penny, please continue.
At times during the Synod, there will be persons who do not have voice that will be asked to make reports, speak to certain issues as resource persons, or introduce nominees. We are able to identify a number of these persons now, and rather than ask Synod each time to grant voice, the parliamentarians have suggested that where possible, these persons be identified up front and ask that voice be granted as a group to expedite the business of Synod. The names of those persons are included in the second report of the Executive Council report that was on your chair. The Executive Council recommends the 29th General Synod grants voice without vote to those persons who have been approved by the Business Committee as designated resource persons for the presentation of reports, resolutions, or other concerns that are on the agenda of the General Synod. The privilege is extended only for the time that the particular item of business is under consideration and may be extended at the request of the moderator or appropriate committee chair.
If there is no objection, the motion is adopted, and voice is granted to the resource persons named at the time designated report is before General Council. The next item of business is designation of groups granted voice without vote. Penny.
According to the Standing Rule 10 of the 29th General Synod, the Executive Council recommends to the General Synod the groups whose representatives shall be granted voice without vote while the General Synod is in session. On behalf of the Business Committee, I move that the 29th General Synod grant voice without vote to the designated groups and to their stated representatives.
There are 4 groups that have applied for and been granted by the Executive Council voice without vote. You will find their names in the 2 reports of the Executive Council to the General Synod, one which was posted earlier this year and the second which you found on your chair today. If there is no objection, the motion is adopted and the representatives of the designated groups are granted voice without vote. Thank you, Penny. As you probably know, and you'll hear Penny talk about later, since General Synod 28, more than the required percentage of conferences ratified the amendments to the UCC Constitution related to the creation of a new United Church of Christ Board and other significant changes to governance in the national setting of the UCC. The final formal actions required for implementation are votes by the boards of directors of the covenanted ministries for these final votes to take place. The board of the Office of General Ministry needs to vote to merge its corporation into the United Church of Christ Board, and the boards of Justice and Witness Ministries, local church ministries, and wider church ministries need to vote to amend their articles of incorporation and their bylaws in a number of ways, including reducing the size of their boards. These votes are scheduled to be taken at a special board meeting of each covenanted ministry that has been called for tomorrow morning. Part of this process is that the board of directors of local church ministries, Justice and Witness ministries, and wider church ministries must notify 2 regular meetings of the General Synod of their intent to change the size of their boards of directors. The first such notice was provided to General Synod 28 in Tampa 2 years ago. The following announcements serve as the second of the required notification. There are no further votes of the General Synod required to implement these changes. So I now call on Carol Williams Swope of Local Church Ministries, Alice Harper Jones of Justice and Witness Ministries, and Bing So of Wider Church Ministries to report on the actions of their respective boards.
Good afternoon. On April 8, 2011, the Local Church Ministries Board of Directors approved the resolution entitled Change in Size of LCM Board of Directors. In accordance with our Articles of Incorporation and with the Constitution and bylaws of the United Church of Christ, this announcement is the second notification to the General Synod of the intent of local church ministries to change the size and composition of the Local Church Ministries Board of Directors.
Good afternoon. On July 1, 2011, the Justice and Witness Ministries Board of Directors also approved a similar resolution to change the size of its Board of Directors. This announcement is the second notification to the General Synod of the intent of Justice and Witness Ministries to change the size and composition of the Justice Witness Ministries Board of Directors.
On April 11, 2011, the Wider Church Ministries Board of Directors approved a similar resolution to change the size of its Board of Directors. This is the second notification to the General Synod of the intent of Wider Church Ministries to change the size and composition of the WCM Board of Directors.
The nominating committee has spent the last 2 years identifying and selecting people to serve on the new United Church of Christ Board and for moderator and assistant moderator of the 30th General Synod in 2015. The work of the nominating committee is a time-intensive and critical effort that is very important to the well-being of the United Church of Christ. It is work we should all honor. At this time, I call on the Reverend J. Matthew Deal of the Penn West Conference, who is chair of the nominating committee, to present the report of the committee. Reverend Deal.
Good afternoon, General Synod. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Matt Deal. I'm the pastor of St. Paul's United Church of Christ in Somerset, Pennsylvania, and I bring you greeting from the Penn West Conference. It has been my honor to serve as the chair of the 29th General Synod Nominating Committee and to serve alongside the other 25 dedicated members of the committee and its staff. The first report of the nominating committee, the slate of nominees for election to the United Church of Christ Board, was posted for delegate review on February 8, 2013. It was amended in mid-June due to a candidate withdrawing and another nominee being selected. The second report of the nominating committee, the nominees for moderator and assistant moderator, was posted on April 2nd, 2013. The entire membership of the nominating committee proudly endorses these members of the United Church of Christ, who we are presenting to you, and we are proud of the process by which they were selected. With the anticipated enactment of the new governance structure, the work of this nominating committee has been much different than at previous synods. By directive of your Executive Council, we were tasked with seeking candidates for selection as nominees to but 36 at-large positions on the United Church of Christ Board, not the nearly 100 nominees our predecessors selected under the outgoing structure. It caused, I must say, the committee and its staff to completely rethink and overhaul the process it had been refining for the past several years, a process that had become such a well-structured, fair, and equitable synod function. Our goal was to maintain the integrity of the system and at the same time attract and place for nomination the very finest and diverse 36 members of the United Church of Christ that we could find. The response to our call for candidates was, quite frankly, overwhelming. Over 250 members of the United Church of Christ consented to being considered for nomination to these 36 positions. The quality and caliber of these candidates was stunning. Many of the UCC's best and brightest sought nomination, and that made the work of the nomination committee so very difficult, as we anguished between one remarkable and gifted candidate and another equally talented and devoted member of our church. Selecting just 36 nominees turned out to be a much more time-intensive and painstaking task than we had expected it to be. It was, for some of us, the most difficult decision we ever had to make as we constructed the slate of candidates that are before you. It was as time-intensive and deliberate, actually more deliberate, than choosing candidates under the outgoing structure. The same holds true regarding our selections for moderator and assistant moderator for the 30th General Synod. We labored between so many fine individuals in making our final decisions. We believe our efforts have been well worthwhile. We believe we have presented to you outstanding individuals, caring, dedicated, and blessed by God's grace to comprise the first class of our new United Church of Christ Board, and for moderator and assistant moderator to serve as the leadership of the 30th General Synod. Madam Moderator, on behalf of all 26 members of the 29th General Synod Nominating Committee, I formally submit to Synod the first and second reports of the Nominating Committee as posted on the UCC website, and I urge the election of those outstanding nominees by the delegates of the 29th General Synod. On a personal note, my prayer for our church is that we would continue to be inspired by the Holy Spirit to seek out that vision to which God calls us, to the healing of God's Word. May God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Deal. Thanks to you. Thank you to you and to all the members of the nominating committee for your incredible work and the outstanding candidates that you have selected. Without objection, the report of the 29th General Synod Nominating Committee has been received. Now, ahead is the first of a number of opportunities for the Executive Council, which functions as the General Synod ad interim, to report on the work that it has done on our behalf during the 2 years since the 28th General Synod adjourned. The written report of the actions taken by the Executive Council, the first report of the Executive Council, was posted online, and the second report of the Executive Council was on your chair today. So that you will have opportunity to read and review their work. I invite again the chair of the Executive Council, the Reverend Penny Lowes, to share her reflections on the last biennium and bring before the General Synod 4 pieces of business.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As you know, I am Penny Lowes. I come from the Michigan Conference, where I belong to St. Paul United Church of Christ in Warren, Michigan, and serve part-time as pastoral assistant at the First Congregational Church of Romeo, Michigan. It has been a great honor and privilege to serve as chair of the Executive Council over the past biennium. These 2 years have continued the trend of learning, transition, and change as the Executive Council has worked to put into action the mandates and charges of General Synod. First and foremost, we began the final process that would lead to the realization of the new governance structure. To that end, a unified governance implementation task force was formed to accomplish this most important work that has been at least a decade in the making. Under the outstanding leadership of the Associate General Minister, W. Mark Clark, this group of dedicated members of our beloved church, staff, and consultants have faithfully kept the wheels rolling forward. Before we leave Long Beach and the final gavel falls on Tuesday night, we anticipate the new United Church of Christ board will be a reality. As early as October of 2011, conferences gathering for their annual meetings began to ratify the amendments to the Constitution and bylaws of the United Church of Christ approved at General Synod 28 in Tampa. By October 1, 2012, these amendments were ratified by fully 37 conferences, with only the Calvin Synod returning a no vote. The Executive Council joyfully received this news, even as we felt the finality of leaving behind the old ways of governing to which we had become accustomed. Throughout the biennium, then, the Executive Council and the 4 covenanted ministry boards moved forward to complete as much of their work as possible, implementing resolutions and carrying out their respective fiduciary and governing requirements, all the while preparing to say goodbye, not only to their individual governance structures, but also to colleagues from across the broad geographical expanse of the church who have become cherished friends in Christ. The journey toward the new structure of the United Church of Christ Board has truly been remarkable. Representatives to the local church ministries, the wider church ministries, the Justice and Witness ministries, the Office of General Ministries, and the Executive Council have served with passion, dedication, and conviction. We have not always agreed, but in the end, we have remained in covenant together. Praise God. As previously stated, the process began almost as soon as the existing structure came into being in 2000. Fears and challenges had to be addressed and overcome. New ideas and novel configurations began to reveal yet another new light that is now breaking forth on a collective and collaborative horizon for the ongoing health and vitality of our United Church of Christ. We are and will continue to be a living organism, adaptive, resourceful, creative, worshipful, and prophetic in our desire to serve God in communion with Christ and the Holy Spirit. Changing times and needs will ever continue to draw us to new understandings and new formulations of what it means to be faithful followers and loving servants for Jesus Christ in the world. At the close of this General Synod, we will birth an evolving and future church. I want to take another moment to name and thank my predecessors for their roles and service as chairs of Executive Council since 2000. In order, they are David Anderson, Olga Sandman, Winston Baldwin, Sharon MacArthur, Jim Mose, and Pearson Kemp. Their dedication to and devotion to the United Church of Christ is beyond measure. Another significant occurrence over the past biennium has been the formation of the current Collegium of Officers. Joffrey Black, General Minister and President, and Linda Jaramillo, Executive Minister for Justice and Witness Ministries, were joined by 3 new colleagues. James Mose was elected as the Executive Minister for Wider Church Ministries and co-executive for Global Ministries. Mark Clark was elected Associate General Minister, and J. Bennett Guest was elected to fulfill the term vacated by Stephen Stearns as Executive Minister for Local Church Ministries. The Collegium has become a strong team, and we are grateful for the leadership they provide. Joffrey, Linda, and Ben have been nominated for new terms in their respective roles, and their election will take place at this synod. Mark Clark will continue on staff as Chief Administrative Officer, as there will no longer be an Associate General Minister in the new structure. It was at the March 2012 meeting of the Executive Council that Joffrey Black announced his decision to seek a second term as General Minister and President. Per the bylaws of the United Church of Christ and the standing rules of the Executive Council, I appointed an ad hoc committee for the renomination and re-election of the General Minister and President. An extensive evaluation process was completed involving dozens of responses from persons across the life of the church. Joffrey was unanimously approved by the Executive Council in October 2013 to be our nominee for a second term as GMP. In addition to the ongoing implementation of General Synod resolutions, other significant actions of the Executive Council over the past biennium include the adoption of the standing rules for this General Synod, a new United Church of Christ board travel policy, the allocation of funds from our church's wider mission, and blessing the appointment of the new General Counsel to the United Church of Christ, Mr. Don Clark. There have been several memorable moments in the life of this Executive Council. In November 2011, at the gathering of the Joint Boards in Cleveland, we rejoiced at the astounding success of the Mission One initiative. We joined in a joyous service of worship for the installation of Jim, Ben, and Mark. We listened to and provided encouragement and suggestions for the bigs, the bold, inspirational goals envisioned by the Collegium to support the core values of continuing testament, extravagant welcome, and changing lives. We prayed grateful prayers and shed some tears over the changes at Bangor Theological Seminary. We mourned the passing of some of our members and shared the grief of others as they lost dear ones. We voiced support for victims of violence, most especially the needless loss of children to assault weapons. We embraced the colleagues who are themselves victims of natural calamities such as tornadoes, floods, forest fires, and hurricanes such as Sandy. We provided enthusiastic support for the Mission for One Earth and 50 days of dedication to save our planet home. We rejoiced in the addition of some 200 new churches that have joined our denomination over the past 4+ years. Amen. The largest amount ever in a 4-year period, by the way. I'm right, Ben, right? Yeah. We shared in meaningful worship and a celebrative dinner in March of this year as we gathered for the last time as the joint ministry boards of the United Church of Christ. Fund development continued to be an important focus for this Executive Council. New initiatives such as the formation of a human resources database that includes persons with a variety of skills and attributes are being developed, as well as increasing opportunities to donate quickly and efficiently in our local churches, associations, conferences, and via the national website. We know the United Church of Christ is a needed entity in the world, and we continue to seek new and novel ways to tell our story, share our testimony, and grow our resources for the good of the church and all of God's creation. The Executive Council has completed our work in bringing the slate of candidates for the General Synod Nominating Committee. We are excited by the extraordinary gifts that each candidate offers. Collectively and after careful discernment, the slate of nominees achieves the required diversity of representation. Finally, this General Synod 29 will leave its own special imprint on the historical legacy of our United Church of Christ. We will be discussing, discerning, and voting upon several important resolutions that will soon come before you from the Committee of Reference of the Executive Council. Each resolution has the possibility to impact our lives in astounding ways. Some resolutions will be controversial, and I'm guessing we may not all agree. I do hope that we will hold each other in high regard, loving each other as God loves us. Over the past 2 years, this has been the experience of this Executive Council. We have been far from perfect, but we have striven diligently to serve you in respectfully, prayerfully, and faithfully carrying out our work together. The world is watching what we do. May we continue to follow our still-speaking God into the wildernesses that demand our prophetic witness in the creation of the just and righteous community God desires. With that, Madam Moderator, my report is concluded. I have 4 pieces of business to bring before the body of delegates.
Please proceed.
The first item is the slate of nominees for the United Church of Christ Board. The first report of the nominating committee that Mr. Deal spoke of so highly. Madam Moderator, I move the adoption of the first report of the nominating committee, the 36 at-large members of the United Church of Christ Board, which has been long posted for delegate review.
You have heard the motion. It comes from the Business Committee and requires no second, and this election will be held on Monday afternoon. Nominations for the United Church of Christ Board are now closed.
Madam Moderator, I move the election of the Honorable Brian Holman as the Central Atlantic Conference as the moderator of the 30th General Synod.
You have heard the motion. It too comes from the Business Committee and requires no second. Our standing rules do allow for floor nominations for this position. Are there any nominations from the floor for the moderator of General Synod 30? If so, please proceed to the white microphone. Seeing none, the nominations for moderator are now closed. The election will also be held on Monday afternoon. I invite Ms. Lowe's to continue.
Madam Moderator, I move the election of the Reverend Sue Art of the Illinois South Conference as the Assistant Moderator of the 30th General Synod.
You have heard this motion. It also comes from the Business Committee and requires no second. Again, the standing rules for this position allow for nominations from the floor. If there are nominations for Assistant Moderator, please move to the white microphone now. Seeing none, the nominations for Assistant Moderator are now closed. That election will also be held on Monday afternoon. Penny, I invite you to continue.
Madam Moderator, I move the election of the slate of at-large candidates for the 30th General Synod Nominating Committee as nominated by your Executive Council and posted for the delegate review since March.
Again, you have heard this motion. It also comes from the Business Committee and requires no second. The standing rules allow for nominations from the floor. For the nominating committee, are there any nominations from the floor? If so, please proceed to the white microphone at this time. Seeing none, the nominations for the General Synod Nominating Committee are now closed. That election also will be held on Monday afternoon. Ms. Lowe's, do you have anything else for us?
Not at this time, Ms. Moderator. That includes the podium report of the Executive Council.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you for your report. Thank you for your exemplary service to the church and your gracious leadership in this last biennium. As the General Synod, we rely on our Business Committee to recommend how to organize our work. In addition, our Committee of Reference suggests how to handle resolutions and pronouncements that are submitted for our consideration. The bylaws of the United Church of Christ assign both of these roles, Business Committee and Committee of Reference, to the Executive Council or its appointees. As usual, the members of the Executive Council serving as the Committee of Reference have read and researched all the proposed resolutions and will now bring us recommendations on how to refer them. For that report, it is my pleasure to introduce Executive Council member, the Reverend Doug Wooten, who is the chair of the Committee of Reference. Doug.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Our printed recommendations appeared in two places. Our first report concerning 15 proposed resolutions that were received by January deadline, and they were posted on the General Synod section of the UCC website in late March. Our second report concerning resolutions submitted under the could not have been anticipated clause of the standing rules by the June 1st deadline were placed on the delegates' chairs today. Together, these constitute our report to you. In recommending these dispositions, we relied on criteria set forth in the standing rules. These include rules of form, content and source, definition of prudential and witness. To summarize, a total of 16 proposed resolutions have been received. We recommend designating 5 of them as prudential resolutions, each requiring a majority vote, 11 as resolution of witness, each requiring a 2/3 vote. 15 of the resolutions are recommended for referral to committees of the General Synod, 1 directly to plenary session, and none to implementing or other bodies. If further resolutions are introduced as new business, the Committee of Reference will review them this evening and formulate recommendations. Because no business will be conducted in plenary between now and Sunday, when committees of the General Synod convene, we recommend that your delegates to the Business Committee the task of assigning final disposition to any new business so submitted. For the record, it is noted that no pronunciation or proposal for actions were submitted to the General Synod. Madam Moderator, our motion is as follows. The 29th General Synod adopts the report of the Committee of Reference and delegates the Business Committee the referral of new business submitted during the first plenary of General Synod.
Thank you, Doug. The General Synod has received the report and the question is before the House. Is there any discussion? All right, get your clickers ready. Those in favor of adopting the recommendation of the Committee of Reference will push 1. Any opposed to adopting the recommendation of the Committee of Reference will push 2. And those abstaining will push 3. Voting begins now. 15 seconds. Hold on, let's see how it shows up. How many, is there a floor steward back here that confirm that they are not working? Okay. And a lot over here. Is there a way to? They're working. They're working on it. Yes. I've been informed that the vote total for this vote was larger than the vote total for the tests, which is generally the largest vote that we get. So I declare that this vote is valid, that the recommendation of the Committee of Reference has been adopted. And let me just say that if you push your clicker and you get the little circle with the bar through it, just wait a few seconds and push it again. We are getting... Okay. We will attend to this. We are not doing any more votes by clicker today. We will attend to this and ensure that the clickers are working well, and we'll do that by checking out the number of votes we are receiving. In accordance with our standing rules that were adopted earlier, this is the only time in our agenda when delegates may introduce new business, and it will be by title only. An item that is brought now as new business must be submitted by 3 delegates from at least 2 conferences, and the presenter must provide 1,000 copies of the proposed resolution or other formal motion, according to Standing Rule 12. Copies should be left with the parliamentarian. The procedure for introducing new business is this. The delegate introducing new business will give his or her name and the conference you represent, the title of the new business being introduced, and the name and the conference of the 2 delegates who are seconding the introduction of the item. Any delegate who brings new business at this time will want to talk to Lee Foley about process. He will be available at the front of the stage at the conclusion of this session. And all delegates who introduce new business must meet with the chair of the Committee of Reference in the General Synod office, room 103C, at noon tomorrow. At that time, the chair will inform those delegates of the committee's recommendations to the General Synod. So if there are items of new business to be introduced by title only, please proceed to microphone 6 now. Seeing no one at that microphone nor movement toward that microphone, I declare that there is no additional new business submitted to this General Synod. Associate General Minister Mark Clark is the administrator of this General Synod. You will hear from him numerous times throughout the Synod, and I introduce him to you now. Mark.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Let me first say that General Synod is possible only because so many people are willing to give their time to make it happen. I certainly can't name them all, but I want to point out 2 people, the Reverends Sarah Morse and Beth Kennett, who are our head ushers, our floor managers for the next 4 days. So if you would please join me, they're right down here, in giving a round of applause. Free wireless access is available here in the plenary hall at no charge. However, Please connect to the wireless on an as-needed basis. If you're not using it, disconnect so we can free up bandwidth for others. Please see the instructions on page 21 of your program book. Also, on the back of your program book, you'll notice a QR code. If you know what that is, you'll see it. You can scan this code and access with a mobile-friendly version of the General Synod website. You can also visit this site directly using the URL printed below the code and obtain any documents you need to electronically. Throughout Synod, please be sure to stop by the exhibit hall to visit our exhibitors. The exhibit hall opened today at noon and will be open through noon on Tuesday. And you can see page 63 in your program book for more details on the exhibit hall. If you haven't already done so, please pick up your badge holder at the registration table outside. And lastly, sign up for our first speak-outs tomorrow morning. Will be immediately following this plenary, and you can see Dick Sparrow by the floor parliamentarians table. Thank you very much.
I declare the first plenary of the 29th General Synod to be complete. We are in recess. Please have a great dinner. We'll be meeting back here at 7:20 for music and 7:30 for our evening plenary and opening worship. See you then.